Hi hamster lovers and welcome to Pancake's channel. This week I'm going to be talking about owning a hamster on a budget. Before we get started, I'd like to point out that hamsters are not cheap pets if you look after them properly. As well as the initial startup cost, you'll have recurring costs of bedding, food and enrichment. If the hamster gets sick, then you will need to take them to the vet, which can be expensive. So first, let's talk about where to get a suitably sized hamster enclosure. It's important to note that the bare minimum hamster enclosure size in the UK is 80 by 50 centimetres. However, Germany's minimum of 100 by 50 centimetres is a lot more appropriate. The larger the cage the better though, as long as it has enough enrichment. You could try looking for second-hand enclosures on websites like Facebook Marketplace, eBay or Gumtree. Another good idea would be to make a bin cage. Not all countries have bins that are large enough though. You will need to cut a window on top of the box, then mesh over it for ventilation. Please don't get a cage from the pet shop as they're too small. This will lead to the hamster showing stress behaviours, and stress can make them ill. Next, you'll need bedding. I'd strongly recommend comparing the prices of bedding at the pet shop to bedding online. Hemp horse shavings are an excellent option as they come in a large quantity for a cheap price. It doesn't hold burrows very well though, so you may need to mix in some soft, dust-free hay. Next, you'll need accessories. I suggest looking online for used hamster supplies. Any plastic items will need to be cleaned using hot soapy water, and any wooden items will need to be baked at a low temperature. You could also make your own hamster supplies. There are lots of tutorials online on how to make different hideouts and foraging toys. I've got a playlist that's called Hamster DIYs that you could try making for your hamster. Foraging toys like this will help enrich their natural foraging behaviours, which will keep them busy. You can also use Pringles tubes as tubes for your hamster. If you poke these tubes halfway into the bedding, then it can be used as a burrow starter. You could also make a hideout out of toilet paper. So here's an example: you'd get some toilet paper, dip it in water and then put it on a bowl. You'd repeat it, let it dry, and then you've got a hideout. You could also turn cardboard boxes into hideouts just by cutting a hole in them. You could also try making a multi-chamber hideout out of cardboard. You could also sanitize rocks from outside for them. If you choose a rough rock, then this will help wear down their nails. Terracotta pots are also fairly cheap and they're excellent to use as hideouts. They will also help wear down the hamster's nails. Next, you'll need a sand bath. You can get very large packs of children's play sand for fairly cheap. To disinfect the sand, you'll need to bake it at 300 degrees Fahrenheit for 45 minutes. Then you'll need to sift it to get rid of any lumps. After that, you'll need food. It's very important to get a high quality food mix in order to have a happy and healthy hamster. You can get some really good varied food mixes off of Etsy. You can use food to keep your hamster busy by scattering it around the enclosure. This will enrich their natural foraging behaviour. They will of course need fruits and vegetables to eat, but you could also make your own homemade hamster treats. There are lots of tutorials online on how to make different hamster treats. Another thing I'd suggest doing would be grow your own flax, wheat and oat sprays. You can do this just by planting flax, wheat or oat seeds. There are also lots of cheap things that you can get at IKEA, such as this wooden folder thing, cork platforms and a seagrass dish. Tea light holders make excellent water bowls. My biggest tip for shopping for hamsters on a budget would be not buy everything at once. Instead, you could spread out the purchases. Instead of purchasing an unsafe hamster ball or a playpen to let your hamster exercise in, you could line an empty and dry bathtub with an old blanket or towel, and then let your hamster run around there, or you could just let them exercise in a hamster-proofed room. That's the end of this week's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please subscribe. See you next week. Bye!